not a lot of us, but I think I'm gonna read the COVID screening test in personal meetings. Anybody with a fever of over 100, cough, shortness of breath, pneumonia, flu-like symptoms, traveled out of Arkansas for the last 14 days, had guests or family in the village from other states, contact with anyone who has lab confirmed coronavirus. Anybody that looks or sounds like that, no, then welcome. Okay, first item on the agenda, well, this is the, for the record, this is the Finance and Planning Committee meeting. Tucker, are you here?
I'm
as a
here, I guess,
permanent?
in a temporary role.
Okay.
At this time. I think we're gonna maybe discuss it a little bit tomorrow.
Okay.
How it's gonna play out. I'm right now on 4 committees today, so we're gonna have to look at that. But,
Okay. Wow.
so, but I'm actually thinking maybe, there's one person I've got in mind that might wanna do it and if they don't, I'll probably just stay on it myself.
Okay.
So,
Wow. Welcome.
thank you.
Okay, approval of prior minutes. I assume everybody has had an opportunity to look at the minutes, made one suggested change. Anything else? Any other comments?
I'm sorry they were so late, but, and I forgot to attach them the first time, so other than that.
No comments, looking for a motion?
All right, we're fine.
Okay,
What else?
motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Agenda, I assume everybody has a chance to look at the agenda. Any suggested changes, additions, deletions, anything else people think is important to talk about? If there are no comments, asking for motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Comments from the board representative. Do you have anything for us, Tucker?
I'll just do like I did most committees. I don't prepare anything because I don't know what you want to know. But if you got any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, very good.
I'm an open book.
I don't have any comments. With that, let's go to budget approval. This could be a really quick meeting. Okay, I circulated last night draft version 4 of our recommendation on the 2021 budget. I assume everybody has had a chance to look at it, printed it out, staring at a copy of it. I'm just going to go through the main sections quickly. The first issue was exactly what are we approving. The budget does seem to move around a little bit. Not exactly sure what we're approving or recommending to be approved. I don't think it's that important. It's just, it would be nice, but that ain't gonna happen. So I think in the first paragraph it says, the Finance and Planning Committee recommends the board approve the 2021 proposed budget. I'm suggesting we just put a period there. We're not going to be all as specific about exactly what we're approving because I'm not exactly sure exactly what we're approving.
Well, that's an interesting question.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, our charter says, you know, section 4, item B, review the proposed annual capital and operating budget related fees to assure alignment with established strategic intent of the board of directors. So, you know, to me, what that means to me is we had a guidance and we've reviewed the budget and the fees. I think in depth, very in depth, to see if they met a lot of the objectives of the guidance. And in the vast majority of the individual cases, it does. I think overall the budget does. And I think it's, I think we've done our part in doing a good due diligence vetting of the budget. With that in mind, so to me, we're recommending to the board that we feel we've looked at the budget, studied the budget, asked 1,000 questions on the budget, and feel that it meets those parameters.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Right. I agree with you, but I guess the issue was exactly which version of the budget, because, you know, our questions were based on, you know, version 1, then it moved a little bit, not significantly. I mean, I wouldn't change any
well, I wasn't
recommendation.
here last week.
Right.
We were version 2 and still, as far as the
This is-
numbers go, version 2,
Correct.
correct?
It's the second version that the board has received, so Ella said, let's just have this as version 2. The fees, because we did make some changes
Right.
after the first approval, that's version 3 that is out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, one of the issues was, I believe, we looked at a version of the fees, we passed on it, it's since been changed, we have no comment on that. But, I mean, I don't think this committee is interested in changing its recommendation or asking more questions based on the further changes. So, in terms of, you know, the headline is, the committee recommends the board approve the 2021 proposed budget, and period, as opposed to trying to pick and choose, you know, exactly what date it was, and,
It's the final version.
right, the final version,
Yeah,
which we haven't, which I, you know, I don't think we officially have seen. I mean.
That's
so-
what I had sent out last week.
Oh, okay, all
that
right.
The board had also received
Right,
that.
but, you know, but we have not reviewed that version as a committee, which is really a technicality, I understand that, but,
November 6th was the date.
I mean, if we want to specify that version, then we can put it in there. I mean, this is very technical.
I think we're good with just a period.
Yeah.
I think we're good with the wording, yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put a period there. And that's a short sentence, and I think everybody understands, you know, what happened. Okay. Like I said, I'm just gonna go through this quickly. The objective of the Finance Planning Committee, I just cite, you know, cut and paste from the charter, paragraphs B and D. I assume no one has any problems with that? Okay, no comments. Okay, summary of process and findings. This was a relatively late addition to the draft. Talk about issuing budget guidance, which I think probably occurred around June-ish, maybe. That was really early in the process. It probably occurred even before a lot of the budgeting work started. Then John held a sequence of zero-based budgeting educational sessions with the staff. Said on or about October 20th, and I'm pretty sure that is the date, based on looking at past minutes. And I do have to put in a pitch for the secretary. Thank you very much. If not for those minutes, I wouldn't have been able to track down our activities, because I certainly wasn't going to rely on my memory. We started looking first at the fees, and I noted we received presentations from Public Works and the Recreation Committee. We focused on those issues that I listed, but we talked about many things besides those things. A week later, we started focusing on the budget itself. We talked considerably about the compensation growth, cash and reserves, the need for including business narrative and formatting. And the following week, we talked about the capital budget, and this is just a brief summary of the things that we talked about. So, at this point, are any further comments? It's your last chance. Okay. Postmortem, we will do a postmortem on the budget process, which we'll talk about a little later. And then in summary, we feel that the committee did fulfill its duties and obligations, as John pointed out, with respect to the budget guidance and the charter. And we then recognize staff for all their efforts that they put in and for helping put together what we believe is a good, sound budget based on the principles of, conservatism. And then we submit this to the board, and since I've never done this, I think the last 2 pages are just numerical exhibits. I think I go home tonight, make any changes necessary, stick this in an email, list out the board and hit send. Is that the way this works?
Really don't know. I think we're all new at this because we
Yeah.
didn't have this before.
Yeah.
So, I think the board's just, based on the meeting the other day, we thought you guys were pretty good with everything, and
Yeah.
so all we need to know is that you've done all the dirty work, if you will, getting it down.
I did all the dirty work.
Well, yeah, I guess that's very good. You know what I mean? So I guess it's just a matter of if you guys feel good about what it is. That's what you're there for, so.
Okay. At this point, any summary comments, anything, any further stuff anybody has to say? Okay. Gary, you're gonna say something more?
Well, I was just going to say, I would move that we adopt this proposal with the minor change you suggested, and that you forward it to the board.
Okay. Hear a motion?
Yes.
Yeah. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
I,
Okay, done. And thanks to everybody, really.
I would like to also say, I think this group owes themselves a little applause for finishing this project. I mean, this was the first time for a lot of people here, going through this, and I think all of us now are far more knowledgeable than we were when we started this process. I know I am. And thank you particularly for all your help and staff again. So.
Okay. So that we can just move down the agenda, postmortem on the budget process. I spoke to John earlier to this meeting, and he's agreed that he and I would just draft a postmortem evaluation of what we think, how the process worked and what we think of the budget from a far away standpoint as opposed to the line by line, number standpoint. So in my mind, it's going to kind of sort of look like this. First thing is, anybody on the committee who wishes to participate, I would welcome. Does anybody want to be involved? If you have any, strong opinions or not so strong opinions, or just, rampant curiosity about what a postmortem.
Would you say morbid curiosity? Is that what you said?
Yeah, or that too, any kind of curiosity.
There wasn't much roadkill left on the road after that.
I don't think so.
I would, but your feedback and input, I think, will be particularly important. Because the process, there was a lot out of our vision going on behind the scenes, with you and how the staff were progressing toward it. And I know there were a lot of questions, and, we didn't end up with a true zero budget. Okay, we did not. And there are reasons for that, and all of them are legitimate reasons, and I don't think anybody's to blame for that. I'm not going down that road and implying that. But I think we ended up with a good budget overall, and so it's important to get all that feedback, that's all I'm saying, and put it together, because before you know it, it'll be time to do it again, I'm sure. Not that far away. Time flies.
And I would think one of the things that would go in is starting the process sooner. Is that, I think that's discussed every year, but is that even possible? Or,
You really want my 2 cents?
absolutely, yours is more important than mine. It's worth more.
I know that this process has been very cumbersome for the people who have done it in the past. It was more cumbersome for me in the aspect of first getting my feet wet
Oh,
with
absolutely.
the way it is orchestrated here and with the finance and planning committee on top of that. I do know that in the past, they typically started this process in June. I believe it went from June and had to be approved by October. I personally think if there is a way that we can address some of the complications or the hard parts of it better, I would like to see that be a shorter time frame that is more efficient. So not necessarily pushing it out at the end of the year, but starting in June, you're kind of guessing an entire 6 months worth still. So I would like to be able to try to see if there's some ways that we can improve and have some efficiencies and some of the ways that we kind of calculate and look at things and maybe see if there's a way to streamline the process versus making it just take longer.
That makes,
4 months is kind of, 5 months is kind of a long time.
well, that's contributed when zero-based budgeting is new. You're new, there's a lot of transitions taking place during the process, but
Very, very true.
But could you kind of enumerate, more for my edification than anything, what the most cumbersome portions are? Because in everything, there's always something that's,
Well, to be 100% honest, the first hurdle to jump over was explaining what was needed from the rest of the staff.
okay,
I did change some of the process of pulling the information together from what I can tell it has been in the past. So I went in kind of blind. I had to ask different questions of how did you guys come about this? How did you guys, what was your steps in getting to this point of what I was able to find? So I think that was a big hurdle for me. It doesn't mean that it's gonna be there continuously. It was a learning curve. The feedback I got from some of the staff was that it was a smoother process than what they have dealt with in some situations. But we also try to get more people involved this time, I believe, at least in some areas. So,
That was one of the goals.
It
When
made
we
more of a
accomplished
learn-
that was one of the goals.
yes, and so I think it was more of a learning curve for more than just myself. And the fact of, I did change a few of the steps along the way. So in other words, I'll give you an example of that, was I was told in the past they had given a yearly amount of a budget. Then once that was approved or within the POA, then they would go and start to work on a breakdown. I addressed it from, I want January through December. So I kind of skipped a step on them, but at the same time lets you see where things are gonna fall in line as far as a cash flow basis and so forth. Then we can adjust from there. Adjustments will still need to happen to make sure we come out okay every month. But I changed the process a little bit. So
Right.
that was a curve, it was a learning curve as far as getting new staff involved. To me, that was a big hurdle, just trying to get everybody on the same page, fill out this spreadsheet needs to tie to this one, that kind of stuff. I think that overall, they all do know their departments. They know what goes in, what it costs to run them, what they need.
Wouldn't you feel that was all new, but next year it won't be all new?
Exactly, and that's what I'm trying to
Shouldn't
say.
that narrow your
Yes,
window down, I would assume, a lot?
yes,
And if we continue to budget the same way, hopefully with the committee and everybody, that, I know the committee will have different people change hands, so hopefully, if you guys are say whatever, or us guys, whoever the case may be, are happy with this process and are comfortable with it, and the board's comfortable with it, then we're not gonna change it next year.
And that's where
Yeah, and we didn't change it this year, we made it this year. You know what I mean? We made the
Yeah.
process this year. I thank you guys with what you did. You made the process, and it'll be simple for everybody next year to understand. The questions will be so few compared to this year, because everybody will know. Am I correct in my assumptions there?
Yes, you just have a lot better way of speaking than I do. I kind of stumble on my words.
No.
That is what I was trying to say. It's been a learning curve. Hopefully the rest goes a little easier and we can streamline the process and it doesn't take 6 months.
Exactly.
I would agree that we need to get started earlier in the year. I don't see how you can do your work and then stop and do this and then in a rush. So I do believe it needs to be started earlier in the year. And I have I heard the word musing one time, and occasionally it pops back into my head. I've been thinking about, well, we have basically one person with direct access to a lot of the answers to the questions this committee brought up. And that seems to put a lot of burden on one person. I don't know what, again, I have questions at this point, thoughts. I don't have any golden answers, but that seems, and we heard some noise last week before last, about the questions that were asked, the number of questions, and the amount of time it took. Well, at this point, I don't have an exact answer to that question. A lot of us came from industry where everybody involved sat at a computer and could look at any database that he had authority to enter and search these questions without passing all the questions on to one person. So it is an adjustment coming from that sort of atmosphere to one where we do not have that kind of ability. But again, these are just thoughts at this point. The main thing is starting earlier next year. And another thing, into the meat of the budget, so to speak, and Charles King brought it up the day he presented to the board, or the initial draft, was what's all this carry forward stuff? Why is it necessary? And I hope people are giving that a big, big thought, because if a capital expenditure is necessary, the truck has fallen down, fix it this year, it's off the budget.
We did not
Why carry
carry-
stuff forward? And that's a tiny example of my thought, but I don't quite get that philosophy.
Well, there was a few things that were being carried forward, and I had to do a lot of digging and research to try to figure out what all those pieces were.
Yeah. I understand this year is,
Well,
in-
and that's why capital expenditures, we did not roll forward capital expenditures. I have the same philosophy that you do. If you didn't get to it, okay, you budget it again, you start over. The only thing that capital projects that would fall under a category of a rollover is something that has already been started.
It's underway.
Right.
Correct. It's underway.
If it's something that has just not even began, like you said, it goes to the next year as far as being put back in, starting over.
Yeah.
great.
The other rollover stuff that it involved is the fact of trying to keep utilities separate from the rest of the organization. They were set up to be self-funded, to not be subsidized, and to maintain all of that. So that is where a lot of the digging part came in, trying to verify which funds out of this whole pot belonged to utilities that was
Okay.
rollover approved from board after board, year after year, and what was truly applicable to the rest of the organization, which is why I try to do some of that color coding and some notes to kind of show, okay, here's what was left, this is what's rolling over, that means it stays kind of in their bucket. So those are kind of the two the two big things that were rollover. One of them we discontinued. The other one, I think we have to keep maintaining, we just need to have a clear picture of the trail.
Yeah, in my background, if you didn't write up a capital project in the year that it was approved for, that was incentive to go do that.
Yeah.
That was incentive, get it done, get it in, because December 31st it goes away.
Yes.
And then you gotta fight all over again, so that's how it should be. And hopefully that'll be the way it continues here in the future.
And simplifying the document is also, would be one of my goals, if ever given the chance, but I'm not a CPA, so you can only take what I say with a grain of salt.
this is definitely not from an accounting point of view, from a bookkeeper, but would it make any sense to have a separate set of financials for utilities, treated as its own entity?
It would.
Would that be, it doesn't seem that would be
It-
difficult, but,
That entails is it's setting up a new balance sheet for them.
yeah.
The reason, I would assume, this is an assumption, so you know what that means.
Yes.
Because we were trying to differentiate and uncloud where funds and stuff were,
Okay,
as I mentioned before, utilities to be all on its own, but still in the regular operating account the way it currently is. I don't know how to put this very pretty.
yeah,
Like I said, you kind of can have some piranhas. So if I've got $100,000 and 99,000 of it is utilities, but it's all in one pot, and I've got assessments not really covering cost, and I've got other recreation or whatever other pieces of this puzzle not quite covering, they kind of can be little piranhas
Oh,
on
absolutely.
that. So before we can do anything, we had to try to say, okay, here's X, Y, and Z, and here's A, B, and C.
yeah,
Along with that complication comes the fact of when revenue comes in, and without it being separated at one point, you don't have everything you need to start the year off. In order to have your own balance sheet, that means you've got your own cash accounts, you have your own loans, you have everything that makes that up. And right now, everything is consolidated.
yeah.
So I do think at some point it does need to get there. It's just gonna take us a little bit more than, let's just turn the page and do it.
I think it's a lot of the entries that go back and forth, because each department pays utility department something at some point, so that is a lot of extra. But I like the way you changed the reserve accounts, but,
Well, and our goal with changing setting up the new accounts for capital is to honestly be able to say, okay, we know it's gonna cost X amount to do our operations. That means in a separate account, we know we have X amount of dollars to fund capital projects. If we start eating into that capital funds, because it's all in the same pot, and then we hit a COVID year, or we hit an extra rainy Gulf year, or whatever the case may be, we've already spent funds on capital that we really still need to be able to fund operational.
yeah,
So this helps us separate those
yeah.
and make sure we can cover everything that we need to and reach our goals in our capital objectives. I hope that makes sense.
It
Yeah.
does, it makes a lot of sense.
And then, given a worst-case example, you could still stop capital spending, at that point in time. I mean, there's
Yes.
nothing to say you can't, but, yeah, it's much cleaner. It's much cleaner.
So I hope that kind of explains some of the rollover confusion and stuff.
Okay, so I think with this topic, John and I will get together,
We will draft. and-
draft something, and,
Call
yeah.
input.
We certainly think about it, and send me and John any comments that might pop up. I think my vision is, you are the you know, focal point of the budget. So to me, it's gonna be extra important that you have lots of time to review whatever is said and make sure that you're on board with it. So my commitment to you is, you will have ample opportunity to review whatever we have to say and comment on it. Okay. Anything further we want to talk about? The postmortem of the budget process? If not, meeting time. I've been told, and to the best of my ability to determine, this facility actually closes at 2 o'clock.
Is that different from the normal business hours of the?
The normal business hours of this, I believe, is, you know.
The sign out front says
Yeah,
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Now, I've also been told that, you know, there's overtime involved. So I believe in the spirit of responsible frugality, we should consider moving our meeting time.
Based on that, absolutely.
So, okay,
Does it have to stay on Tuesday?
well, I'm gonna say that, I was told, when talking to Nikki, the business manager, she said that our meetings have all been scheduled for Tuesday, the second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 3 o'clock, to which I said, oh, that's good to know, I didn't know that. But anyway, does it have to be, it's up to us. I mean, we picked Tuesday because it was convenient for the most of us, but, you know, I don't have any real requirements.
Well, maybe we start with what days can't someone be here,
Right,
and work backwards at
yeah,
that point.
yeah. So,
I personally have a lot of flexibility. So.
I'm flexible.
yeah,
Well, I golf on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.
There we go, that's the one.
That's the main reason. I
That's
had
why
to
you
leave on the
moved.
12th hole today.
We know why you live in the village.
Exactly.
Not if you see me golf, you know.
we need more people moving into the
Exactly.
village
Exactly.
That's what we need.
who really want to buy a new house.
Yes. And don't mind waiting for a year or two to do it.
Right. Anyway,
So what,
Well, Mondays or Wednesdays would be ideal for me.
yeah, and Wednesdays are,
I know he's out.
Wednesdays and Thursdays, every other Wednesday and Thursday is not good for me.
every other Wednesday and Thursday.
Every other Wednesday and Thursday.
Well, and
So what
the
about the
board,
second
the board
one?
meets every other Wednesday too right now. Our morning ones, you know, the
Well,
regular
the-
board meeting and a discussion session in the afternoon on another Wednesday.
Yeah, you're on the first and third Wednesday.
First and third, yeah,
Right.
so.
But your Wednesdays aren't really first and third, it's every other. so
It's just every
it can-
other, and which
yeah.
may or may not be the
That can
first
screw
or
up the
second.
first and third easily.
Right. So it's not that kind of schedule.
What about Monday afternoons or Tuesday mornings?
That,
Maybe
Tuesday
for both.
mornings,
Well, Tuesday mornings would be easier for me this time of year, because Ruth is head of the group and she gets an 11 to 12-ish tea time. Now, during the summer months, we'll go earlier than that, so it's kind of a,
Which we're working our way back to Monday or Friday,
mhm.
right?
well, I golf Fridays
Friday,
too.
too.
Well, Monday,
But it shouldn't be about me, so
Mondays are usually,
I'll
I can
kind
do
of
Monday
adjust.
afternoons.
And
I
when you
have
to
meetings
use-
Monday mornings.
Does that mean 1 o'clock so we can get out of here? By,
2:30 maybe, it just depends. But, yeah, it sounds like Monday afternoons, we're targeting 1 o'clock. And are we good with the,
of course, when I was working, I named my boat No Mondays. No longer working.
gonna try Monday?
try Monday, 1 PM, first and third, second and fourth? Don't know.
When did you say the board meetings?
I'm just trying to think if there's other, you know, committees.
Mm-hmm.
Mine are Thursdays. almost every Thursday. So if I'm here, that would be fine for me. Monday would not hurt me at all. But the other person that I was gonna talk to, whether we wanted her on there or me, I don't know if she's on the marketing and on, I don't know what all, so I don't, I say set it and work from there and see what happens, you know.
Okay.
I don't know what time they meet on those, all the other committees meet, so.
Yeah, it'll all determine whether they've got it open and available anyway, so.
Right. We don't know.
Well, that's true, there's another
Rooms are
committee meeting,
open.
you won't be able to get the time anyway.
Right. So we shoot for Monday, 1 PM, just second and fourth, just for tradition's sake.
Yeah, if there's no conflicts.
Okay, so I'll target second and fourth first, then maybe this first and third afterwards, and then see what's available. Okay?
Now, is this is just housekeeping, but do you check with Nikki or the Ponds?
Somebody has to.
You've got a bunch on your plate, is my
Yeah.
thought.
Well, that's among the easier.
Okay. If you're okay with it, it's fine with me.
I'm fine with that, yeah. Okay, meeting time. Okay, I've been looking forward to this for a month. Appoint a new chair. As we all know, I am the acting
After
chair.
about 2 months, 3
Hmm?
months.
No, it hasn't been that long.
No.
Just feels that way. Okay, I'm the acting chair. We actually don't have a real chair, so with that, I'm open to nominations. Who would like to nominate somebody else? You may self-nominate.
Can you nominate 2 people and let them duke it out?
I don't think that's normally
Okay.
acceptable. I would think, I'm just making that up, I'm not a parliamentarian. So that's just intuitively,
Nominate Gary over here.
okay.
And I was gonna nominate John and/or Gary, so
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Congratulations.
Okay, I guess we gotta take a vote. We do have a quorum. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Congratulations, Gary. And,
Should I note that you abstained?
Just look blank.
Right. And I thank you.
I'll help any way I can.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, that's everything, and I will continue to be vice chair. I will move over 1 slot. With that, that's the end of the agenda. Any further comments from the committee? Got nothing? Okay, no guests? With that, motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
Okay,
Second.
Okay.